Hello and welcome to the All Things Learning Podcast, where we share with you valuable skills and insights into what is really working in education. I'm your host, Travis Hostetter, the founder and president of AT Learning and home to the Teacher Masterclass. Welcome to the show. Today's episode is all about how you can improve recruitment for your school. Now, I know you're thinking, if you're a teacher, how does this impact me? Why should I care about recruitment? For one, if you are looking to go somewhere or you just want to have a better understanding of how schools can do a better job at recruiting, this is the podcast for you. If you're a school leader, of course, make sure you stay tuned. There are some great tips, especially at the end of the podcast, that you can use to really set yourself apart in recruiting better and better teachers every year. So this podcast is for everyone, not just our school leaders. So teachers, make sure you take some notes as well, because it'll give you a leg up in the competition to get into those great schools that you're looking for, as well as some ideas of what great schools really are doing in the world of recruitment. So where are we at in terms of recruitment today? Right now, there's some talk about schools having to actually downsize and lose teachers. And a big reason for that is that the federal funding largely came from the COVID era is now drying up for our schools. And so a lot of school districts are seeing 10% or higher reduction in staff. That is mostly impacting teachers, but also paraprofessionals, even administrators are oftentimes being let go as a way to save money because schools cannot keep up the spending without that federal funding. So where are we at right today in terms of teachers? Well, in the country of the United States, we have 3.2 million teachers in the U.S. That is a lot of teachers. And out of those teachers, nearly 10%, over 300,000 teachers are not fully certified and qualified to be a teacher. That means we have a large number of teachers in this country who simply are not at the place we need them to be when we hire them, but we are allowed to hire teachers of a lower experience or maybe don't meet certain credentials due to teacher shortages. There are about 40,000 openings every year right now in the U.S. for teachers. So recruitment is paramount. It is essential for any successful school, not only to make sure that you actually have a fully staffed school, but to make sure that the staff that you do have are high quality. So what should we do as a school leader? And we're thinking about, how do I do the best job I possibly can at finding great teachers? And teachers, how do I make sure that I find the right school matching me? First, we have to start out with our own expectations. Do we have the mindset that, you know what, we're just always going to have openings, we're never going to fill all those openings? Or do we think, this is easy, teachers are everywhere and they'll find a spot here with us? The reality at your school could be very different from another person listening. So we have to keep that in mind, that whenever you're thinking about your school, that might apply to a very different situation to somebody else. Or if you might be working at a different school across town in the next year who may have a very different standard or difficulty level or ease when it comes to recruitment. There is a great quote that I love. It says that some principals regret not hiring a special teacher, but all principals regret hiring the wrong teacher. When we get busy and we're moving too fast, oftentimes we can make some compromises in areas that we really shouldn't have. Because we're so eager to get somebody in that room, we're willing to take almost anybody. Slowing down and making sure that we have a process that we feel good about is a very important part of making sure that we're bringing in the right people into our schools to work with our children. So here's how you need to approach, or I would suggest that you approach, hiring and finding great teachers. The first one is you need to actually define what a great teacher is in your mind. What does a great teacher look like in your school? You could be an IB school, and a great teacher is somebody who has MYP or IBDP experience. Those are both grade levels, middle school and then upper high school grade levels. That could be something that's really essential for you as a great teacher. It could be that you have an AP program and you want teachers who are experienced teaching AP classes. Or you're a Montessori school, or whatever it is, a religious school. Make sure you write down a list of the qualities about the person and the qualifications that person should have to fit into this role or to fit into your school. It's possible you can find an incredible teacher who's just not a good fit with where you are. Or you can find a teacher who's up and coming but very new or green, but they match everything else you're looking for. And you're willing to bring them on staff because you know that in a matter of a few months or a few years, they can be a really strong teacher. This brings me to step 2, which is to compare your preferences with your candidate pool. Look at the teachers that you have available, those who have applied to work at your school, and look at the expectations or the preferences that you have in terms of who you're trying to recruit. Look at those 2 lists, what you prefer and who's applying, and begin to make an idea or have a concept of these are areas where I feel like I could compromise if I need to. These are my non-negotiables. These are areas I can negotiate with myself a little bit and find some wiggle room to find the right person. So be very thoughtful about that process and looking at who your ideal candidate is and who the candidates are you're actually receiving. And see if you have to give in one area, know what that area is in advance. The third and final part here is to make sure that you are making an effort to grow your candidate pool. Now, I applied for a job, and this is not a joke. I applied for a job about 15 years ago to teach middle school math. It was at a private international school in Hungary. Sounds great? Well, a lot of people thought so as well. When I called them and I said, hey, how's my candidacy looking? How do I look on paper? What is my resume like? Do you all want to interview with me? And they said, Sarah, thank you so much for contacting us. I really appreciate it. But I want to be honest with you. I thought, uh-oh, what does that mean? Sir, we have had 1,000 teachers apply for a single middle school math job. And we're going to give that job to a retired professor of mathematics from Harvard. I'm sorry, the job is not available for you. Holy cow. 1,000 highly qualified teachers applied for a single opening. Incredible. Unbelievable. In international schools, that's not uncommon to find dozens or hundreds of people applying for a single job. Public schools in the U.S., oftentimes Title I schools in the U.S., may really struggle to get even 3 or 4 or 5 candidates. Quite a few of the principals that I coach routinely have even told me that I had one person apply and that's all I could get. So making an effort to grow your candidate pool can make a huge difference in the success of you finding the right people. So I've got a list of 10 locations here, and if you are following along, you can look down in the show notes, and I'll have them posted in there for you too. But these are 10 great places that you can go to find teacher candidates or to grow that candidate pool. The first one is human resources. Absolutely. These are teachers who are oftentimes already vetted by your HR team and say, yes, these are people that we can hire. Every school and school district has a different process for it, but I strongly suggest that you make an effort as a school leader or even as a teacher to get to know your HR department a little bit. Be kind to them, be nice to them. They deal with a lot of hard things all the time. It is not an easy job. It's a job that people oftentimes feel frustrated with, but don't always get a whole lot of credit for. But HR is essential for us to hire great teachers. So contact them. Let them know that, hey, I'm looking for a 5th grade PE teacher, or I'm looking for an 8th grade science teacher, or I'm looking for an AP English teacher. Whatever it is, let them know who you're looking for. Get to know them and see if maybe someone comes across their desk. They say, hey, I know exactly who I should send you to. And then all of a sudden, they can begin sending candidates to you. It doesn't always work that way, but it cannot hurt to try. The next few places are actually all online platforms. So take a look at these platforms here, and you may be using them already, but if not, they're worth checking out. So the next one is Education Crossing. We also have K-12 JobSpot. This is a very, very popular, very, very big one, K-12 JobSpot. Next, we have School Spring. There's also Education American Network, TeacherJobs, and those are kind of our traditional teaching platforms to find jobs. But there's a couple other platforms that are a little more non-traditional, such as LinkedIn. A lot more younger people are actually starting to use LinkedIn, which is a new trend because they have so many social media accounts. They want to have at least one that it looks somewhat professional to help them find a job. LinkedIn can be a great way for you to post jobs, and usually it's free to post jobs. I've posted jobs for my own business and schools there too. And it could be a great way to connect with teachers who are looking on the platform. Another one is Facebook groups. Here in Atlanta, we have an Atlanta Public School Teachers Group. So go on those teacher groups, get in them and say, hey, I'm the principal of so-and-so, and I would love for you to apply. We have an opening. And you can find sometimes a lot of people are there who either are teachers, they could be retired and they're still in the group, and they're thinking, hey, I may actually consider coming back for a year. That kind of sounds good. I like what this principal has to say. And you might actually find people who are new coming into the profession looking for a group or a tribe they can meet with or connect with, and they see your opening posted and think, oh my, here it is, here's my chance. So don't be shy about joining some teacher Facebook groups for your community, for your state, for your city, your district, your area. Next, we have job fairs. Now, we do have school job fairs, and hopefully your school or school district participates in them if they need to. But if not, you can actually go to other job fairs. A large number of teachers, as we've seen, about 10% are career changers or people coming into the profession new. Many of them are very, very talented, and they just need some support as a teacher. That's how I started. I did not begin my career as an educator. And so when I became a teacher, I became pretty good pretty quickly because I had such a strong team around me. So there are some great people out there who may be an engineer looking for an engineering job, and they come to your school and think, or to your table and think, hey, I actually am pretty interested in actually teaching. I didn't really think about it, but here you are, and I see you're looking for an engineering teacher or a STEM teacher. Don't be afraid to try something out of the box. Finally, a great resource is finding an actual pipeline where teachers can continually be coming to your door looking for work. Working and connecting with a university can be a great way to do that. Now, if you're in a university town, it's going to be a little bit easier for you because you might even be able to host teachers who are going to be doing internships at your school. But even if you're a little further away, become friends or friendly with professors that you've had in the past, or maybe some of your new teachers had as professors. Find some way to connect with them and say, hey, if you've got some young person you think is a rising star and you think they would like to live in this part of the state, let me know. I would love to communicate and connect with them. So feel free to reach out to those universities to find that pipeline of teachers that are always graduating new young people into the profession. All right. Now it's time for a bit of a mindset shift, so hang with me here. It's time to think a little bit about how the hiring process actually works. So you have your candidates, or you're a teacher and you're thinking, okay, what am I looking for? I'm looking for schools that have this, this, and this. What are those next steps? What should it look like? Another one of my favorite quotes is, hiring is like any relationship. It's mutual. We have to want them, and they have to want us. Sometimes we think, hey, we have an opening and you're a teacher who's looking for a job. You should just take it automatically. We need to actually build capacity and build a relationship with that person so we can both find out if we're a good fit for each other at our school. Might sound corny. It's not meant to, but great leaders and successful teachers have a strong relationship with each other, a strong professional relationship, but they are able to connect and get to know each other a little bit before we sign those contracts. So to do that really well, ask yourself this question if you're a school leader. Do teachers really want to be at my school? And if you're a teacher looking for a job, if you have any opportunity to get to know any of the teachers at that school, ask them, is this a place that you want to be at? Is this a place that is exciting, a place that you enjoy working at? Some recent surveys showed that over 50% of veteran teachers would not recommend the teaching profession to a younger person. That's incredible and scary. So if you can reach out to a teacher and they say, yeah, actually, I like it here and you should come here too, that's a place that's really worth considering. If they don't say that, we as a leader need to do some soul searching. And as a teacher, as a candidate, maybe we should keep them on the back burner and look somewhere else. So what does a great school look like? And a school that is we're going to be able to recruit teachers really well? What do we look like? What do we sound like? First, we have to think to ourselves, am I the kind of leader that people want to work for? Being a strong leader, incompetent, successful, trustworthy leader is incredibly important in keeping our teachers happy, keeping them in our schools, keeping them supported, and then allowing that to build in our culture so it makes it actually easier for us to recruit. Next, with the colleagues, so do our teachers behave in a way that's ethical and safe? Is there always conflict? Is there always drama? Do people always cause problems? Or do we build each other up and support each other? And if you have staff on board who are struggling in that area, you need to find ways to support them. Get them some coaching. Get them what they need, because they're not performing as well as they should be. Get them some help. Get them some coaching, because they're not where they need to be. And we need to make sure that all of our teachers are on board, they're growing, they're successful, and they feel positive about the place they're working at. Next, is our school well organized, and do we communicate really well too? Do teachers know where to look for something if they need it? Do our students? Do our parents? Whenever we have things come up, do we communicate well? Do we let people know what we know, if it's important for them to know it? Or do we hide information? Do we keep it internally? Or do we communicate slowly, only through leaks? Make sure that you're being a really strong communicator at your school, and your school is run well, and you'll attract a lot more teachers to you. Next, we focus on the growth of our teachers. Teachers don't want to stagnate, and we know that kids are constantly changing and constantly evolving. Personalities, culture is always shifting, and so we have to make sure that our teachers are up on the best training and research and practices so they can be successful wherever they are. Finally, does our school have a strong sense of connection and belonging? Do we have a culture? Are we a we? Or is it a bunch of I's, a bunch of individuals who are just running around doing their own thing? Find ways to celebrate successes and do fun things with your staff to help build that culture too. Finally, as promised, I have a couple of tips that are a bit unusual that I have used personally and coached other principals on, and have found some great return on investment of our time while using these strategies. So if you are a school leader looking to improve recruitment, these two things can really help set you apart. If you are a teacher and you see a school doing these things, you should really consider them, because they're probably doing the extra things to make sure it's a great work environment. The first tip out of two: create a recruitment profile. This might sound silly or strange. Like, why would I as a school create a profile to pass out to people to help recruit? Well, we have to know that in other industries, this is actually very normal. It's very common. And we in this public schools oftentimes don't follow all those norms. So if you can go out and create a profile, just like a lot of high schools do in terms of sharing with universities or to help recruit new high school students, and they say, hey, here's the average GPA and average ACT, SAT, whatever scores. Here's our average graduation rate and college acceptance rates. All those factors can actually make a big impact on high schools and their profiles and how they recruit students. Same for us as school leaders. We should be creating a profile to say the average tenure of our teachers at our school, the average teacher experience level, the average degrees, or how many have masters, and on and on and on. Think about the things that you really want to promote and celebrate about your school that makes it uniquely positive. At the beginning, you can put a simple paragraph on there that kind of describes your school, your staff, and your students, and your environment. Make sure in that profile you include your curriculum and your academic program, as well as athletics and activities they can be involved in. Some teachers just really want to go and they want to be a softball coach and teach PE, or they want to coach basketball and be a math teacher, or be an English teacher and have a poetry club. So finding ways for teachers to be connected and being aware of what those are can make a big difference in recruiting your teachers. Same if you're a teacher and you see that profile, you're thinking, wow, look at all these programs. This is a place that is organized and put together, and I want to be a part of it. So those are all things you can put there on your profile. And when you talk with teachers, definitely play up and be honest about all the great things happening at your school. But you also should be honest about some of the areas your school is struggling in. When you can be honest about those areas of growth, what you're doing is, one, you're informing the teacher that these are areas that we need to grow in. And if they're not strong in those areas, maybe they shouldn't come. You don't have to say all that, but they can read between the lines. But two, is you're building trust. You're saying, yeah, we are a great school to be at, but we've got some problems. And here's what some of these problems are and how we're going to work on solving those problems. And I would love to have somebody like you help contribute to the solution for us here. I think you can be a great asset to us. A teacher hears that even in a more challenging school, they're going to think, wow, I feel wanted, I feel cared about, I feel like they are actively trying to recruit me, and, maybe this is the right fit for me. Maybe this is the right place that I should be at. The second great tip is to make sure that when you are conducting an interview, you do a really good job of it. What does that look like? One, right off the bat, make sure that you are breaking the ice. Make them feel comfortable, at ease. Get to them, hey, how's your family? How was your weekend? How was your day today? How are your kids? How old are they? Tell me about your spouse. Find some way to kind of break the ice, talk about the weather, even silly things like that can help the teacher feel much more comfortable as they come in. Now, I want you to make sure that you are very well aware of this. Not all great teachers are great at interviews. There are some teachers that I know are incredible, but they crumble or say things that they would not normally say because they feel the pressure of an interview. You might think, well, if you can't handle the pressure of talking with me, then maybe you shouldn't be speaking to students. But some adults are just wired really, really well to connect with young people and struggle a bit more with adults. That's okay, because we are hiring you and paying you to work with young people. So you're in the right spot. So don't be afraid of a teacher who doesn't have a great interview, but you know they're great because you've contacted the references and you've seen some tape, or you've gone to their school and you know who this person is, or someone has told you they're a great teacher. Don't let that bad interview put you off too much. Likewise, sometimes really low-performing teachers are incredible at interviews. I've heard this story way too many times from the principals I coach and I've worked with. So make sure you always dive in to their backgrounds and you do reference checks and everything you can to make sure this teacher is a good quality teacher for your school. So during that interview, you're breaking the ice. Make sure you spend some time getting to know them at a personal level, just kind of briefly, and then make sure you ask some really high-value questions. Make sure the questions are not yes or no. What would you do in this scenario? Tell me about a time when this. If I asked your students to describe you, what would they say? Why would they say that? When you've had conflict with a parent, what did you do to resolve it? What was the outcome? Those kinds of questions can make the teacher know, first of all, that you're really serious about having a great school. Number two, that you really care about results. And number three, that you are really interested in finding the best teacher for your school. You're not going to run through things like a checklist and say, okay, you got this, here's the job. No, you want this to feel like there's some back and forth here. That I want to get to know you, and I'm actually going to create space for you to get to know me too. When that happens, you will see that not only will your interviews become more successful, that more teachers, especially the ones you want, are more likely to sign their name on that line when you offer them a contract. Now, if you found this information useful, we go much, much deeper into how to recruit and retain and train great staff in our online course called The School Leader's Guide to a Successful New Year. You can take this course any time of year, but it's especially useful in the summer and the winter months as you're looking ahead for that next semester and next school year. We go into a lot of great topics. Staffing recruitment is just one of them. Retention is a big part of it, but so is mindset, planning, setting goals. There's a whole host of great content right there for you in that course. So if you're interested in the School Leader's Guide to a Successful New Year, you can find the link and more information down below in the notes. And of course, if you want to see your teachers really grow exponentially, become much more successful than they are today, whether they are new or a longtime veteran or something in between, you cannot turn down the opportunity to enroll your teachers in the Teacher Masterclass. This is an incredible course of about 70 lessons. 2/3 are video lessons between 2 and 7 minutes in length, so they're quick, high-value, actionable lessons where teachers can finish the video even before they finish their lunch. Again, high-value takeaways they can put into practice right there in the classroom every day. On top of that, it comes with coaching for a whole year. Group coaching once a week for a whole year. That's over 50 group coaching sessions for your teachers. If you want to learn more about the Teacher Masterclass, you can also go down to the show notes down below or go to atlearning.org/masterclass. That's atlearning.org/masterclass. And thank you for listening to the All Things Learning Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you like and subscribe, and we will catch you in the next one.